This is How I Lost My Baby Face, a short story by myself, Lenny Pojarov, the background story to my song I Won that I wrote in 2007-2008. You know Tinder, right? These days it's become pretty common to meet people on Tinder and sometimes even end up marrying them. I assume you're also familiar with a certain social platform that has a white on blue F for an icon. Years ago, there was a German equivalent to this platform for university students only. Back then, though, it wasn't all too cool or common or sexy to date people you met online. But to my deepest shame, that's exactly what I did. So I met this guy who lived a 3-hour train ride away from me. Actually, I remember that he poked me several times, pushed the conversation and kept it going until I gave in. From the image he conveyed via his social feed, he looked quite cute, especially given his photogenic face and his Photoshop talents. Funny enough, it wasn't easy from the get-go. Shouldn't I have grown just a little bit suspicious when he postponed his visit for the 3rd time, giving me some bullshit explanation about a foreign minister coming to his university and him being the only important person on site to welcome her and show her around? Him, a second-year design student, not the best one either. Shouldn't I have broken it off altogether when he cancelled on me due to sickness and then posted a picture of himself partying really hard? Footnote number 1. No, back then throwback wasn't even a thing yet. Even for technical reasons, they were all real-time posts. Instead, I made good use of the time and squeezed in a nice little diet, still hoping he'd come to visit me the week after. Why, you ask? Well, I think this is the perfect moment to properly introduce myself. Hi, I'm Lenny, born and raised in Kyrgyzstan, living in Germany, traveling all over the world for business and pleasure, former anorectic. Since the age of 13, I've been struggling with all sorts of eating disorders and abnormalities of nutritional behavior. I believe the disorders and the abnormalities have been established way earlier, but the first time they became visible through my body's appearance was in 1997. While getting to know each other online and on the phone, you obviously ask all sorts of standard dating questions such as, what's your favorite movie? What countries have you been to? How tall are you? Having learned he was hardly taller than me, especially in heels that I love wearing, and having seen pictures of him showcasing his athletic shape, I'll get back to that, I decided it would be a good idea to starve myself a little bit in order to look better by his side. I mean, seriously, what's the alternative? Looking and feeling like his freaking pet elephant? Let me elaborate on the shape just for a second. Well, I should have listened to my inner voice back then because she was screaming, "Skinny girl, he's freaking skinny." Well, 1 week in, my best friend Ani intervened. No, not with me, with him. She wrote him an emotional letter describing how sad she sees me walk the halls of the university these days, knowing how much I was anticipating finally meeting him in person and how disappointed I was to get jilted. She said she doubted his honesty and strongly disapproved of men treating her best friend this way even from a distance, especially from a distance. She asked him to make a decision and only told me about it a month later. Next thing I know, I was picking him up at the train station. You know how they say you only see what you want to see? I'm pretty sure that's about 2007 me. Please don't get me wrong, I would never judge a book by its cover, but deep inside, you just know. Towards me walked a skinny guy of regular height, wearing a crocheted cap, I'll get back to that too. The back bottom part of his jeans worn out to the degree of borderline non-existence. He wasn't even really smiling, maybe he was nervous. And yes, he had a pretty face. So, the cap. Well, pretty appropriate to wear it in January, but it turned out he wore it all year long, most of the times, regardless of the outfit. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have a signature piece of clothing. I'm just saying that one was particularly ugly. At this point, you, dear listener, might not know how important aura, charisma, and radiance are to me. Well, he had none of these. Let's call him furry. No, he knew very well how to use a shaver, thank God. I just chose this name to use in this story, referring to something my, at the time, little niece called him. Yes, he met my niece, both my nieces, and the rest of my closest family too. Something he can't say about me, ever. In retrospect, I realized he came into my life carrying a golf bag full of red flags, and I seriously did not know how or why I became so incredibly obsessed with the idea of becoming his girlfriend regardless. Shockingly, this wasn't the first time. Maybe after years and years of rejection in the gymnastics and dance clubs when I was little, by the mean girls and boys at school, by my unicorn crush, a very special somebody whom I craved and who strung me along for almost 3 years, and eventually within my chosen sphere of work, I just wanted to belong. And yes, unicorn crush is going to be another short story, the background story to my song, Unhealthy. Anyway, I was determined. This was supposed to work. He was supposed to become the next Mr. Lenny, come what may. What followed was a nice little honeymoon period of puppy eyes, park strolls, and pillow talk. Interestingly, at first it was only him to come and see me in my city, which made our back and forth situation kind of only fourth for him. I'm not saying I went backwards, but the contents of my wallet did. Regardless of the fact I wasn't spending money on travel to go and see him. Also interestingly, my job situation only got better. Well, at the time, I was in my final year of uni. So when I say job, I mean all sorts of gigs to support my lifestyle. That would be performances, hostess and translational jobs at trade shows, nightclub, and event promotion. Yes, I was really cool. Probably I was just being overly generous and trying to make his visits at mine as nice as possible. We would go out a lot. I had to meet all of my friends. I took him out to dinner any chance I got and kind of ended up being the sugar mama to a guy 6 years older than me. Furry wouldn't shut up about his friends and all the big house parties they attended together for what to me felt like on a daily basis. He told me about it on the phone, told me about it when he was with me. I kept seeing all of the pictures from these epic parties online, and obviously I was excited to meet all these people and hang out with them too. The way I see the world, it's the most natural thing to meet your partner's friends and to visit him or her at their place or city and get to know them better by experiencing their day-to-day life in their natural habitat with them. However, there was always some reason for him not to let me come see him, which should have made me just a little bit suspicious. Eventually, I went to see Furry in his city that I liked very much. Well, I'm referring to the city here, not my actual stay. Why, you ask? Well, for starters, his flatmates and him lived in a dark, rotten hole of a place, designers no less, covered in dirty laundry and half-empty coffee cups from 2 days ago. Neat and nitpicking as I am myself, I have to report how surprised I am to have not felt nauseous while in the rotten hole at first. I guess at the time, the pink shades were still hijacking my eyesight. What's more, he wouldn't even go out for drinks or dinner with me. Yes, being a new couple, we sure enjoyed some alone time, but seriously, to quote Miranda Hobbs, I have a brain. So in conclusion, I ended up riding the train for 3 hours, 6 in total for the round trip, only to hang in a dark apartment and eat cheese sandwiches all weekend. At this point, I need to explain to you, dear listener, that cheese sandwiches were a guilty pleasure for me as I was pursuing a strictly super low carb nutrition style. Also in this context, when I say guilty, I am referring to this profound and all-consuming feeling of actual guilt and grief that people with eating disorders, experience after having eaten something that's not on the list. To Furry's credit though, I did meet his flatmates. As in, hi, bye.
Without you I'm one, without you I'm strong, without you I carry on.